All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick. I will be your host for this morning's webinar. This is Huawei's webinar on BYOD solutions, an extremely hot topic in the market today and one that we have a really great story around. We're excited to talk to you about it. Before I pass it over, I'll tell you who our presenters are going to be this morning. We've got Thomas Keenan, who's a Director of Product Marketing at Huawei, and also AJ Gupta, who's also a Director of Marketing. These guys are experts on this subject and have a lot of very great information for us. I definitely want to encourage as many questions as possible. So on your GoToWebinar panel, there's a question area. Please type in your questions and we'll answer those in real time, as well as addressing those to the entire audience at the end of the presentation. In addition, we're giving everyone a free Starbucks gift card for participating in today's webinar. And if you spend, at least half the time with us, we'll go ahead and award you with one of those cards. We appreciate your time, and we know it's valuable. We'll also have a couple of polling questions throughout the presentation. So when we get to that point, we would love your input on the polling questions. As always, we'll share the results with the entire audience so you can see where your peers stand in terms of some of the topics related around BYOD. And then finally, a full recording of this webinar will be made available on the Huawei website within 24 hours of the webinar completing. So if you want to hear a re-recording of this or forward it on to a friend, feel free to do so. So at this time, I would like to pass control over to Thomas Keenan, Director of Product Marketing at Huawei.
Thank you, Nick, and good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending upon where you are. And as Nick indicated, I am Thomas Keenan, Director of Product Marketing for Huawei Enterprise USA. And I'm here to tell you on a personal note that I'm just back from CES, or Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, where I had a presence in the consumer and device booth for Huawei, and I can speak directly to you to the fact that BYOD was an extremely hot topic, so a very timely topic, and we're thrilled with the turnout. I'd like to initially go over our agenda today. I'll be covering a little bit of background on Huawei and the market, the BYOD market, for those of you who are not familiar with Huawei or what's been going on with BYOD. We'll talk a little bit about, in point number 2, the Huawei BYOD solution and the components thereof, both hardware and software for all enterprises. And then at the end of the presentation, we will have a static demo and illustration of BYOD functionality, and again, open the doors to Q&A, and certainly have those questions and submit those. We definitely would like to get back to you on each and every one of the questions that you ask. Joining me today is my colleague AJ Gupta from FutureWay. He'll be illustrating BYOD functionality after the main webinar and also aid in our Q&A. So my goals to net it out today are 3. I'd like to review the key trends and inflection points going on in the BYOD space. I'd like to suggest to you that BYOD implementation requires careful end-to-end planning, and that your BYOD partner should have more expertise than simply device or endpoint background or single track kind of expertise. It requires knowledge in key areas like application development, mobile management platforms, active security control, wired and wireless networks, client software, and smart devices. I'd also, as my final goal, like to introduce Huawei as a serious provider, and to suggest it's probably time to allow another vendor like Huawei, another partner, to take a shot at helping you navigate the BYOD challenge. So, but first, let me get to some background on our industry. To give you some background on Huawei, you fundamentally need to understand what's going on in our industry. We are very much seeing, as I'm showing on this slide, the convergence and merger of information technologies such as mainframe, client server, and data terminals with communication technologies such as digital comms, mobile communications, and mobile broadband. This convergence is being driven by 3 key trends. Number 1, the adoption and use of cloud models, whether that be private, public, or hybrid, and I'm sure many of you are in the throes of rolling those models out. Number 2, the explosion of mobility in almost too many verticals to mention, whether that be education, retail, public sector, and many others, driving the mobile worker percentage ever higher across industries. And finally, the consumerization of IT, or actually the blending of technologies previously seen in the enterprise and having those migrate strongly to the consumer base, and what that implies for our industry. So if you believe these trends are going on, it makes sense to ally yourself with a company that spans these technologies and is equally at ease in the world of enterprise, service provider, and consumer, and might I suggest Huawei is one of the few vendors able to span all those industries with knowledge and to be that type of partner that you're looking for. So the next slide I'm showing is a snapshot of who we are and what we do. We're a global player, extremely well-known outside the U.S. We'll continue to work on making it well-known within the U.S. Huawei, as you can see to start with, has, despite the downturn of the last 3 to 4 years, continued to grow robustly, even during that downturn of 2009 through now. Most recently, ending 2012 at about a $45 billion revenue run clip, and in breaking news, just this morning, we did release the fact that our 2013 revenues will top out at about $40 billion. We'll serve 45 of the world's top 50 telecom operators, and why you might care on the enterprise about a top telecom operator vendor is because things get bulletproofed in service providers are much more enterprise worthy, and that's often where a lot of our solutions start out. We'll bulletproof them in service provider and then migrate those over. And so you have a lot of very tough customers working on enterprise deployments before we ask you to do the same. We are deployed in over 140 countries, serving about a third of the world's population. We've got about 150 global employees, 70,000 of those dedicated to R&D. We are a top contributor to industry standards. We have many thousands of patents filed and approved, and I'll get into that in just a couple of slides. And we have over 2 billion end users as a company. Looking at the U.S. in focus, specifically, the North America Regional Office was established in Plano, Texas in 2001, the home of our service provider team. We had over $6 billion in contracts granted to U.S.-based technology companies in 2012, and we have a great partnership with many of those U.S.-based manufacturing companies. The U.S. enterprise business itself was launched in October 2011 at Interop, if you were there in New York. Some of you may remember that. And we recently completed, therefore, our second year of business in U.S. enterprise. I get this question a lot. Yes, we do have a full portfolio and the ability to provide professional, technical, and learning services, and also a full array of partnerships to support our U.S. presence through both distribution and a wide variety of VARs. Taking a very quick snapshot of our enterprise product portfolio at the highest level, we've got a full enterprise solution set, including unified communications, campus, branch, and data center technologies, serving key verticals such as retail, higher ed, manufacturing, media, and large enterprise. So really, no matter what vertical you're in, we probably have a solution you ought to be considering. We also offer, unlike many other of our competitors, end-to-end management and visibility capability for IP and IT platforms, including those of third-party vendors, as well as end-to-end security solutions. This breadth of solutions is directly a result of the size of our R&D organization and the innovations they drive. So the 70 to 75,000 engineers driving just a ton of innovation each and every day and leading a lot of the standards committees worldwide. So speaking of innovation, let me focus on it in a laser-like way for just a second. This slide provides a snapshot of the sheer breadth of the Huawei footprint in the innovation world. We do have membership in 150 international standards organizations such as IEEE, IETF, DMTF, Continua, and HL7. We have over 180 positions in international standards organizations and have produced over 23,000 standards-related manuscripts. Clearly a lot of great technology and innovation going on. From a patent perspective, we have about 40,000 patent applications in China and about 12.5 patent applications outside of China, and finally 26,000 patent applications granted by June of 2013. All this activity has garnered many industry standards and awards and accolades from such publications as diverse as IEEE, Light Reading Magazine, and many other organizations. This innovation plus our extreme cost competitiveness make a very powerful combination for our enterprise customers. So Nick, against that backdrop, let's go to our first polling question, if you would.
Sounds good. And before we dive into the actual details of the BYOD solution, we'd like to find out first, what is the most significant operational challenge you face with BYOD? If you're a VAR, it's going to be the challenge that's faced by your customers. If you're an enterprise, let us know what your most significant operational challenge is. Is it the governance and compliance aspect? Is it the actual MDM, the management of the devices, security, or something other? We'll give you a minute or two to vote. I also do want to remind everyone to go ahead and keep your questions coming. We're already getting some initial questions, which is great, but we'd love to have your questions come in throughout the presentation so we can make sure that we answer those and also address them to the entire audience here at the end. We'll save about 10 or 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. So we'll give everyone just another 5 or 10 seconds to vote, and then we'll share the results with everybody. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share it now, and let's take a look. So it looks like it was pretty much a tie between MDM and security as the #1 kind of tied operational challenges with governance and compliance, not too far back. So I think that probably helps Thomas and AJ as they proceed forward, just getting a feel for what you guys care most about and what your biggest challenges are. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Thomas.
Thanks, Nick, and yes, we do appreciate the answers to the polling question, and we will definitely be covering both of those topics that you mentioned, Nick, in some detail. So having gotten through our initial slides, let's move on then to the Huawei BYOD solution for all enterprises. So to set the stage here, there are 2 interesting polls from last year that were conducted that are quite relevant to our discussion today. In the first one, IDC reports that by 2015, 1.3 billion, or 37.2%, of the total worldwide workforce will be mobile, i.e., will have a significant amount of daily work on the road. So just a huge trend going on from a mobility perspective. In a second poll, Tech Republic and ZDNet members were asked to take a BYOD business strategy survey in late 2013, and its conclusions I find very interesting. Net-net, as employees bring their personal smartphones, tablets, and laptops to the office or use them off-site as they take their work home, IT departments are grappling with the growing BYOD trend. This change in how people work and the devices they're working on is leading many IT departments setting BYOD guidelines to protect company security as employees access email and other potentially proprietary data on their own devices. By setting guidelines, access to data is controlled and productivity can be extended to these devices. So there's very much of a push-pull between the desire for productivity and also the need for security. In this poll, a wide array of responses were received with more than 1,000 people worldwide participating. And the poll actually revealed some interesting facts. More than 44% of organizations already allow BYOD, and another 18% plan to move to BYOD by the end of 2014. BYOD also, as it turns out, isn't new for those who allow it, with 61% of companies with policies already in place having those policies for more than a year. So for a lot of these companies, this is not a nascent discussion. It's well on its way. Respondents, in some cases, also revealed the reasons for not adopting a BYOD policy. Security often topped the list, but there were other less obvious motives. For companies with policies in place, the research indicated that device brand restrictions, percentage of total employees who are allowed to participate in the program, and also, very importantly, hardware and service plan costs, i.e., who's paying for all of this, were very important factors. So whatever position your company takes on BYOD, whether to allow it or not, I strongly suggest the information in this poll can help you start developing a BYOD plan and get you the background you need to become more intelligent in the space. So again, Google it at ZDNet. It's called BYOD Business Strategy Survey. So as our surveys have suggested, BYOD is clearly the future direction, and it's inevitable for enterprises. It's not something that is not going to occur. It will actually occur on your network. This is part of the continuum I'm showing on the slide of moving from the traditional broadband wired network and then wireless network accessing multimedia apps to the world of cloud-based IT and CT services with a personalized BYOD approach, and finally to the future state of the virtual workspace where the semantic web understands user requirements, descriptions, and intelligently adjusts resources accordingly and automatically. So again, we're moving towards that nirvana. We're not quite there yet, but BYOD is helping us get on that road. And so CIOs have taken notice. the inevitability of BYOD is also clearly reflected in the CIO survey results we are seeing. In the Gartner poll I'm showing from last year and also the year before, about 500 CIOs were asked, what are the top technology concerns keeping them up at night? What's on your radar, and what are the top technology concerns in your enterprise? Clearly, in the last 3 years, if you see the poll results, mobile technologies have jumped close to the top of the stack in this category, around the same level of importance of cloud computing and analytics and business intelligence. So again, clearly something the CIOs have taken to heart. And quite frankly, no one should blame the CIO about having BYOD and mobility top of mind. As with most promising technologies, new challenges arise with adoption of BYOD. And there are 4 main categories as illustrated on this slide. Number 1, there's a blurring of network boundaries, bringing up such issues as whether a wireless network is as stable as a wired one, among other concerns. Number 2, multiple access scenarios. The challenge becomes how to grant the right level of access to employees to the network at different times and locations without compromising key corporate data. Concern number 3, complex management. With multiple terminal types, devices, and apps, how do I grant consistent access to all my users? And then finally, number 4, how do I guard against service security threats and provide application security controls while isolating enterprise and personal data effectively and not mix them unintelligently? So now that we understand the BYOD challenge, might I suggest at the end of the day, with all the moving parts in this issue, that a one-stop BYOD solution approach is a desirable goal, i.e. an approach that simultaneously addresses security across the BYOD network, accelerates business mobility deployments, and also at the same time simplifies management of the intranet, extranet, and the numerous devices involved in a variety of user situations. And that's precisely what I'm here to suggest to you today, that we have at the solution at Huawei. We have just such an approach, combining 3 main areas: work your way mobility, security upgrades, and business innovation in a way that I'll next describe. For all of us, an ideal BYOD solution should be popular with employees, adopt systematic designs to accelerate mobile service rollouts, and allow for convenient IT operation and maintenance. Huawei proposes a 3-step approach to achieve a complete BYOD solution. Step number 1, assess current situations and determine planning principles. What you want to do is assess your existing IT inventory and identify IT pain points based upon the enterprise size, business outlook, and scalability demands. Give top priority to building a mobility architecture and fully consider key architectural factors with a focus on quick deployment, overall mobility security, and architectural scalability. Step number 2, upgrade network modules and gradually build a mobility architecture. Observe the following 3 IT rules for IT infrastructure transformation. Pinpoint your current security issues and select an optimal security architecture that satisfies enterprise security demands and accommodates all mobility processes. Item 2, upgrade networks to hybrid wireless and wired ones that feature unified network management, full support for legacy equipment, and smooth network evolution for investment protection. And then finally, determine the most appropriate mobile devices based upon enterprise security requirements. The adoption of both corporate issues and BYOD devices is a good choice for the sake of cost and security balance. And finally, my step number 3, implement business mobility phase by phase. Achieve office automation mobility and build a corporate application platform as a foundation for mobile applications. And AJ will be talking a lot about this in this section of the demo. Identify and prioritize business demands and determine the mobility support priorities for these business demands after fully considering cost and business maturity factors. And then finally, gradually deploy applications onto a corporate platform using different mobility techniques, i.e. open software development kits, mobile enterprise application platforms, and mobility virtualization based on business features and requirement priorities. So at this point, Nick, having absorbed my introductory slide, let's try polling question number 2.
Excellent, Thomas. And I think that really does set the stage for what the challenges are and some of the considerations around implementing a BYOD strategy. So what we'd like to do now is find out a little bit about what you feel is most important in a BYOD program. So the polling question is, what do you view as the most important aspect of a successful BYOD program? We have 5 choices there for you, ranging from increasing your overall revenue by boosting IT productivity, improving the line of business process efficiencies, reducing expenses for corporate device and data services, facilitating employee collaboration, or finally just enhancing customer support. So go ahead and give a vote there. And then after this polling question, we'll start to dive in a lot more on Huawei's solution for BYOD, which I think, as Thomas mentioned earlier, we're one of the unique companies that really has the spectrum of technology, both on the networking side and also on the device side, to really be able to offer a comprehensive solution. So it's very exciting for us. We'll go ahead and give you just another few seconds to vote, so please do so if you haven't already. All right, let's show you the results. So it looks like the #1 answer is just improving line of business process efficiencies, followed very closely by reducing expenses for corporate device and data services, and then we have a tie between overall boosting IT productivity and facilitating collaboration and enhancing customer support, always bringing up the rear there, but that's just the way that goes. So excellent. That'll definitely help Thomas and AJ as we go forward. So with that, we'll turn it back over to Thomas.
Okay, Nick, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Interesting polling results. And so moving on then to the BYOD solution piece of this webinar, let me put up a simplified diagram, an architecture, if you would, that I think speaks much better than mere words do. So what I'm showing is what I call the Huawei AnyOffice BYOD solution architecture, and it consists of 4 key technology areas. #1, smart mobile access client software, which is obviously a key piece of the access picture. Enterprise intranet and extranet solutions, as well as mobile security and unified policy solutions, and then finally, third-party application support. In considering any BYOD solution implementation, you really want to ensure that your vendor understands and has these key areas covered. If they're merely an endpoint vendor or a partial network vendor or a management company alone and don't get the big picture, that's probably a problem for you. You need someone who really gets and has implemented, ideally, BYOD, and I will talk about how we, Huawei, have done that inside Huawei itself, and we have many, many, many users using BYOD every day of the week. The key places in the network that I mentioned above closely align with the 3-phase implementation steps that I already discussed earlier. #1, work your way mobility. #2, the security upgrades you need for an effective BYOD solution. And then finally, what business innovation you should be looking at to help implement the solution. So let's go ahead and consider each one of these pieces in turn. #1, work your way mobility, your choice of smart devices. Huawei offers a complete portfolio of mobile devices, such as smartphones and tablets, in sizes ranging from 6-inch up to 10-inch, the famous phablet category, if you would, as well as a wide-ranging collection of accessories and peripherals to fully adapt to the particulars of industry. In addition, we offer a diverse array of after-sales services, including door-to-door, device refurbishment, software upgrades, and warranty extension. So all of these factors, I feel, make Huawei's mobile devices great choices for enterprises looking for IT mobility. And as I mentioned, all of this was on display this week, past week at CES in Las Vegas, where we reiterated our standing as the #3 smartphone vendor worldwide, and we were also recognized at CES for 2014 New Product of the Year via our new Ascend Mate phone model. Again, so in summary, we provide support for customizable and optimized industry-specific mobile apps. We do support multiple operating systems. We have self-developed chips that guarantee physical layer security. And then we do have, as I mentioned, multiple types of devices available for a variety of applications. Moving on to the second piece of Work Your Way Mobility, I'd just like to highlight a couple of areas that are very important: device data protection and mobile device management. And I'm glad that this was part of the poll that came up strongly as something that folks wanted us to focus on. The first, device data protection, it's all about isolating enterprise data from personal data on mobile devices. Huawei provides what I call AnyOffice, Smart Mobile Access Client software for our enterprise BYOD solution to help prevent breaches of enterprise data while protecting personal privacy on mobile devices. AnyOffice runs in a sandbox, and enterprise data and application software are isolated to inside the sandbox, and key documents and data are automatically encrypted. Any data that users read and edit inside AnyOffice cannot be copied outside, and likewise, data from outside AnyOffice cannot be copied inside. For enterprises, AnyOffice prevents breaches of enterprise data, stops employees from accessing sites or information prohibited during work, and defends against malicious programs such as virus and Trojan horses. By default, AnyOffice provides Huawei-developed secure mail, push mail client, and secure browser products. AnyOffice also offers a secure software development kit for office automation or integrated software vendors. The push mail client provides users with a secure, controllable instant mail push service. Encrypted SSL VPN tunnels ensure secure communications when users are using it during their enterprise mailboxes. Browsing and downloading attachments is also controlled. The benefits of push mail include compliance with standard mail protocols, sending and receiving of email in real time, encrypted mail storage, remote mail wipe, automatic cache wipe upon user logout, and automatic mail encryption during transmission. To the second piece of the equation, mobile device management. The MDM platform supports lifecycle management of BYOD devices, and specifically in 4 key areas. During acquisition, number 1, assets are registered and software is pre-installed. Number 2, during deployment, security policies are defined and then remotely launched onto mobile applications in an enterprise's app store. Number 3, during runtime, a self-service portal, fault locating, application upgrading, patch management, and handling of device loss are implemented. And then finally, when assets are retired, during retirement, they're deregistered and associated enterprise data is cleared. When a user's BYOD device accesses an enterprise's network for the first time, the system automatically verifies whether the device has been registered. If the device fails in the automatic verification, the system pushes a self-registration portal to the device, asking the user to sign an asset registration agreement online and register the device. After the device registration request is approved by the system admin, the device is allowed to access the enterprise network. A user's BYOD device must pass many security checks such as registration verification, jailbreak check, compliance check with the enterprise's security policies. If the BYOD device fails in any of these checks, it cannot access the enterprise intranet. In the event, also, you might ask, in the event that a user's mobile device is lost or stolen, the MDM platform employs many protection measures to minimize loss. These measures include GPS positioning, remote locking, SIM card change notification, and remote data wipe. If a user is uncertain whether his or her mobile device is lost or stolen, the user can take over the over-the-air mode to send a screen lock command to the device, and then the mobile device is then locked and enterprise data on it cannot be seen by others, therefore protecting the security of enterprise data. And then finally, when a different SIM card is installed onto a stolen or lost mobile device, the MDM platform provides auto-locking, GPS positioning, and again, remote data wipe to protect enterprise data. That's a quick summary then of some key security features. And the next piece of Work Your Way mobility, hybrid networks. Huawei has many, many years of expertise in enterprise network and the wireless sector, so we're able to offer a wide variety of hybrid wired and wireless network solutions to enterprise of all sizes, fully satisfying their varied network demands. Huawei solutions in this space feature smart energy consumption management, intelligent operation and maintenance, and central management of both IP and IT equipment. All these factors enable Huawei to help enterprises set up a flexible, secure, and a very high-speed wireless or wired office environment. So I'll defer to the demo with AJ on this, but in summary, the AnyOffice unified portal that I've been talking about provides a mobile workspace with built-in apps to accelerate the deployment of office automation. And as I mentioned, these apps include secure push mail, secure browser, instant messaging, and application virtualization. And again, we will cover more of this in our static demo. Moving to the second piece of the architecture, security upgrades. Apart from device security management, we have to ensure the security of both mobile data access and related tunnels. This involves mobile security access gateways, network access control, as well as device security management systems and equipment. Mobile security access gateways are responsible for setting up encrypted VPN tunnels between mobile devices and enterprises' internal networks for secure data access. Using VPN tunnels, corporate data remains secure while being transmitted over public networks. In addition, VPN encryption technology can also be applied to specific mobile applications for refined control of mobile apps. Only mobile applications meeting regulatory compliance requirements can access internal networks. When mobile devices are connecting to enterprise internal networks, network access control must be implemented, and a policy management center, i.e. Huawei Policy Center, must be put in place. The two combined will safeguard the security of internal networks by assigning minimal network access rights to device users. Device security control is combined with NAC, and a variety of check, audit, security hardening, and isolation measures are employed. All these factors enhance the proactive defense capabilities of mobile devices and ensure the security of each mobile device and the entire enterprise network at large. So very much an end-to-end security approach is absolutely critical to BYOD implementation. The second security upgrade area is for applications. Application virtualization will enhance security. The Huawei approach in this area is that back-end application systems reside in the data center. Back-end application systems can be used directly without modifying the legacy system. Back-end application clients are released on the virtual delivery platform, and application interfaces are remotely pushed to devices. How does this enhance security? The devices don't store any corporate data locally. They only receive the app running screens pushed from back-end systems. Only images and screen-related operation information are transmitted over networks. There is no real business data that's downloaded. This lowers the risk, obviously, of data breaches. Let me now turn to my final piece of the architecture, or business innovation. Huawei BYOD provides one-stop services to almost all BYOD necessities, including mobile devices, networks, security management, and applications, as I have indicated. Apart from basic mobile applications such as secure mailbox, a secure browser, and VDI server-based computing, Huawei BYOD also offers SDKs, or software development kits, to quickly integrate with industry-specific mobile application software. By providing SDKs, Huawei BYOD opens its features including device management, device security, voice, video, and conferencing for easy integration with industry-specific applications. Huawei BYOD specifically offers two types of SDKs, a security SDK and a UC SDK. The security SDK provides a set of APIs related to security authentication, encryption, port aggregation, and unified access control. These APIs enable secure encrypted communications between third-party applications and application servers and implementation devices, as well as MDM functions. The UC SDK provides voice, instant messaging, video, and conferencing functions. These functions easily integrate with enterprise mobile application software. Huawei SDKs support multiple application development languages and environments and comply with universal protocols and industry standards, providing components and plugins that can directly integrate with business systems. In addition, Huawei SDKs have abundant supported documentation, demo environments, as well as commissioning and log tools. All these factors make Huawei BYOD easy to integrate with industry-specific mobile applications. So in summary, as I've illustrated verbally, I've got now a picture on the screen of the full BYOD solution set. This dovetails nicely with our full IP product line of switches, routers, security, data center, and transmission and wireless products. So again, my key BYOD solution product portfolio areas include smart devices, client apps, network products, terminal security management, security in general, third-party apps, and lastly, as I mentioned, SDKs or software development kits. So Nick, at this point, having gone through the BYOD solution from Huawei, I'd like to turn to you for polling question number 3.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Thomas. And as Thomas's data kind of indicated earlier, there's a lot of companies moving to BYOD already. They've been doing it for a year or more. We'd just like to find out within our audience, where are you, or if you're a VAR, where are your customers in adoption of BYOD? Are you already there? Are you doing it in the next 3 to 6 months, between 6 months and 2 years, more than 2 years out, or you have no plans whatsoever? So just let us know what you feel that way. At this point, shortly we're going to be heading into the static demo, and you'll be able to hear from one of our BYOD gurus, AJ Gupta, who's just a real knowledgeable guy on the subject, along with Thomas, and I'm really happy that we're able to get these two guys to be the presenters for this webinar. It's great to have them. So go ahead, we'll give you another 5 or 10 seconds to vote, and then we'll share the results with everyone. Final request for questions. We are getting some great questions, but we will have just a few minutes left at the end for Q&A, so if you do have any questions about the information that you're hearing, please don't hesitate to type them in, and if we don't get to your question at the end, we'll certainly respond back to you individually and make sure they get answered. So let's go ahead and close it out, and let's share the results. So you can see that almost a third of you are already there, and then within 2 years, another almost half are going to be implementing within the next 2 years, and just a smaller percentage that are more than 2 years out or no plans at all. So that pretty much lines up with the industry of what we've seen, and that's great. It tells us that this is very topical for you and very exciting. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to the gentleman to take us home.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. One question, Nick and AJ, that I would certainly ask any vendor asking me to implement BYOD is, how has your BYOD rollout gone yourself? And as you can imagine, being a worldwide company, service globalization and customer-centric ideas have posed major challenges for Huawei's office work. Just a couple of facts here. 90% of executives need to have business trips frequently and attend many meetings, pretty standard. 70% of our salespersons need to visit customers frequently, probably north of that, as a matter of fact. And 80% of our service personnel, given our environments, need to work outdoors. So given all of that, facing these challenges, Huawei started designing, planning, and deploying a company-wide BYOD policy many years ago, actually in 2009. And to date, we've achieved office automation mobility and business mobility across the company. So today, specifically, about 29,000 Huawei employees use mobile terminals every day to access the company's internal office automation applications. About 22,000 use mobile instant messaging, and about 17,000 use mobile mail.
Hey, Thomas.
So yes.
Real quick, it looks like your slides aren't advancing. It's still on the polling question. There it goes. There it goes.
Oh, okay. So about that, it seems they got stuck in transition there. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Carry on.
Not a problem. So again, we have many thousands of employees using office automation products. The mobile office system helps Huawei save tens of millions of dollars in IT costs every year and enhances employee satisfaction. And that's really what you want in a BYOD solution. You want the employee feeling satisfied, you want them productive, and you really want to be able to measure results for the company. At the end of the day, that's the huge win-win of BYOD. Okay, and so finally, really, I think the results speak for themselves. Just some of the stats I'm showing here. Those are per month stats. All of these are 1 million mobile logins, 300 million instant messages via our eSpace application, 1.7 million visits to Huawei.com for the folks who use BYOD, and then finally 160 million emails per month that are used in our BYOD system. Okay, so at this point, I will turn it over to AJ Gupta, who again will run us through the AnyOffice mobile security solution.
Great, thanks, Thomas. Welcome, everyone. And in the next few slides, what we're going to do is just go through some of the features and functionality that Thomas has just talked about. So as Thomas said, we have this thing called AnyOffice, which is a smart mobile access client software, which is offered as part of the Huawei's BYOD solution. So when you install the any Office client on your mobile device, be it Android, iOS, or Windows 8, the icon that you see on the slide here, that's how it's going to look like. This is the client that's going to help you prevent breaches of your enterprise data while protecting your personal privacy on your mobile devices. The whole client runs in a sandbox. That means enterprise data and application software are isolated inside the sandbox. So anything that you do in your any Office cannot be copied outside the sandbox. For example, you cannot have a file inside your any Office and copy it to Dropbox outside the sandbox and vice versa. So any data that users read and edit inside any Office stays within it, and the same thing true for the data outside that stays outside the sandbox. So going on to the slide number 2 here, this is how the configuration things are needed after you have installed the any Office client here. What you need to really do here is a couple of configuration things that includes your gateway, your email address configuration, different security checks you need to go through, which means device registration check. Any Office is going to see whether the device is already registered or not. As Thomas said, if the device is not registered, it's going to put you towards a self-registration portal where you can enter the information and register the device. It's going to check the config file. It's going to import your security policies. Any Office is going to check whether the device has been jailbroken. It's going to check the various system versions levels on your mobile devices. And after each and every one of those checks are done, it's going to be approved to use your device for your corporate enterprise data. Here is a snapshot of our mobile device management here. There are different kinds of policies that apply when it comes to MDM. The policies include your control policies, which means your device policies. There is a system control policies that includes, for example, password for your screen locking and unlocking, different daemons, what happens when you're roaming between multiple regions, about the jailbreak policies, the SIM card removal policies, whether you have inserted 2 SIM cards or if the SIM card has been changed from the one that it has been approved for. On the next slide, once you have installed, once you have configured, this is how your mobile Workbench is going to look like. As you can see here in the application, there are several apps that are there on the bottom side of this application Workbench. From a Huawei, you get several secure applications that includes your email, your browser, contacts, calendar, and application store access, where you can actually download your application, your file management application to manipulate multiple files here. So this is just an example here of a secure email. Our secure email works with any mail protocols, whether it means POP3 or IMAP, pretty much supports the mainstream protocols. As I said, it runs in a sandbox. That means there is an encryption of the mail data, and you are using actually SSL VPN tunnel when it comes to transmitting or communicating from the sandbox to the corporate data center servers. Pretty much all your corporate policies when it comes to reply and forwarding and accessing the data are inputted and applied on the secure email here. This is an example of a secure browser here, and pretty much secure browser is running in a sandbox. That means once you are done with browsing the data, any cookies, any temporary files that you might have downloaded are pretty much cleaned out. So, and the data that you have in your online browsing cannot be copied through any means outside your sandbox here. Cache is cleaned. All your policies of URL access that you have in place from a corporate point of view are imported and put in place into the AnyOffice client on your mobile devices. Here, kind of give you an example of the device loss management here. As we were talking earlier, there are several mechanisms in place that helps you in case the device is lost or stolen. These are part of our MDM client, and these policies, these mechanisms include locking the device, finding the position of the device, partial erasing of the data based on the policies, or it could include even complete erasing of your data on the device itself. There are a number of attempts given to you before the data is finally and fully erased on the device. On this particular slide, I'm showing you a different monitoring that happens as a result of the AnyOffice client. This particular slide shows you the usage of the multiple applications. So an IT administrator can actually look at this data and he knows what this remote worker is accessing, what applications are in place, which applications are utilized the most, making sure that the AnyOffice and your BYOD is being used for the corporate work and not playing some of the other mundane applications actually. So very, very standard, very great software that monitors while the BYOD and the corporate data is accessed from the AnyOffice. Having said that, again, it just kind of gives you a flavor of the various things and the features and functionality from an AnyOffice point of view. We would be happy to do a full-fledged demo after the webinar for anybody, for any customer who might be interested to see the Huawei's end-to-end BYOD solution. Having said that, I'm going to pass it on to Nick now to take it on from here.
Great. Thanks a lot, AJ, and it's good to see a bit of the actual reality of what the solution looks like and some of the functionality, so that's fantastic. So before we get into the Q&A, we do have a number of questions. I just want to make sure everybody has our contact information. So the Huawei website that you want to look at is HuaweiEnterpriseUSA.com. That website serves two functions. It has one area just for normal customers where you can gain access to all the products and solutions and see recorded versions of our webinars from previous webinars that we've done and that type of thing. If you're a partner, it also has a special area where you can get information about training, both for your sales engineers and your salespeople, pricing information to create quotes and things like that. So if you are a partner and you're not already registered, you can apply on the website and gain access to that kind of partner-specific area. If you want to reach us via email, the email address is huaweiinfo@huawei.com, and then there's always our 800 number, 855-GO-HUAWEI, which is 855-464-8293. And if you call that number, you'll be able to access an inside salesperson, and they can help get you anything that you need. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask a few of the questions that came in here. This first one could be for AJ or Thomas, not sure, but the question is, to what extent can IT dictate the level of security an employee-owned device must have?
Sure, I'll take that, Nick, actually. So I know there are benefits to BYOD, but there are challenges as well when it comes to the employee-owned devices. And the answer to this question is really policies, policies, policies. The IT administrator needs to make sure that all the gray areas are covered. Things like who owns the data? What happens when the device is stolen? What happens when the device is logged? Everything must be clearly spelled out in the policies before the employee is allowed to access the corporate application and the data. So in summary, it's all about policies that enterprises and the organizations need to make sure that they go through all these unspelled areas, because it's a new territory for lots of enterprises. Still, more than 30 to 40% of the enterprises do not have a policies in place, and they get surprises when the employees bring their devices and start accessing the applications. So need to make sure policies are clearly spelled out, nothing is left, everything is in black and white, and that's going to help us actually making sure that there is a level of security on the employee-owned devices as well, not just for the company-owned devices.
Absolutely, AJ. This is Thomas following up here. So, to AJ's point, he's spot on. You need a very granular policy profile for each and every employee who is going to be employing the technology. You need to understand from a user perspective what data at all will you allow them to access and at what level. And also, secondly, as they move from location to location, that policy profile needs to allow for that and to change. So, for example, if you have one of your engineers who is clear to access some of your software in location X, Y, and Z, part of your lab, what do you want? How do you want that to change as they perhaps exit to another part of the building, to another building across campus, and then off campus entirely? You need to really think through that policy profile and do the tough work up front so that policy profile works with that newly mobile customer, employee over the entire course of their working for the company and no matter where they are. So very much it's sweating the details up front, as AJ mentions, so that you have an effective employee who's getting a lot of great work for you done at the back end.
Excellent, guys. That's great answers from both of you. Appreciate it very much. The next question, you guys touched on this a little bit, but just a little more clarification, and you can dive in a little deeper. The question is, can you talk more about how IT departments can prevent unintentional leaks of information that's being held in an unprotected manner on consumer devices?
Sure. I'll take the first stab here. If you really look at it, Nick, the two most common avenues for insiders to move data outside the enterprises are email and your web, actually. Some of it may be malicious, some of it may be unintentional. So what's really needed is here to lock down that network. And what I mean by that is you need to make sure that things like DLP, data leakage prevention things, are running at the email and the web gateway at the exit points where the data leaves the network here. That's one thing. Second thing I'm going to point out, each and every enterprises need to have some sort of a baseline for their network behavior. So what I'm reaching out here is a network behavior anomaly. So for example, an employee that has never accessed the network at 12 a.m. in the night and he suddenly starts accessing it, that should cause some alarms and trigger some sort of a threat here that something is going on. So enterprises and the IT departments need to really put some sort of a network behavior anomaly in addition to just things like DLP, etc. The good thing is any Office client has built some of this functionality, and we can help enterprises and the IT departments take care of some of those leakage of data that may happen intentionally or unintentionally.
Spot on, AJ. I would also add to that use your employee base as your advocates. I find that the vast majority of the employee base wants to do the right thing, but sometimes do not have the training or are not aware of things that may cause data leakages. So I think a very robust training program where you regularly bring those employees back in to remind them about the need for the secrecy of corporate data, the fact that it cannot leave the enterprise, the damage it can cause either in a competitor or other hands is absolutely paramount. And then to enlist those employees in an active effort and active push to be advocates for data security both within and without the enterprise. Again, use that employee base. They certainly outnumber the IT staff. There are a lot more eyes on data than certainly an IT staff can be. Use those as your advocates and as your trained team to go help you secure enterprise data.
Excellent, excellent. We should have time for just a couple more questions here. One of the more informational related ones is just Number one, where can I get more information about Huawei's MDM solution and BYOD solution, and can I see a demo? So I'll let you guys talk about the demo, but generally, if you either send an email to that huaweiinfo@huawei.com or call the 855-GO-HUAWEI number, you'll be connected into our inside sales team, and they'll be able to connect you with regional people that can go on in a customer engagement with you or just work directly with you to help you get more information and also to see demos. Thomas and AJ, do you guys want to talk a little bit about what it takes to set up a live demo of this stuff?
Actually, Nick, what we can do, if anybody is interested, they can send an email to the email address that you mentioned on the slide, or they can email to you directly, and we will be happy to actually set up some time and go through the live demo. We are also working on setting up a remote demo in which a customer can log in using the guest password and ID that can be used to see some of the features and functionality of our any Office client in action. So happy to give more details on how to access that demo. After the webinar, for anybody, they can reach you or email the address mentioned on the slide.
Great. We did get some more final questions that came in just as we were in the Q&A session. I don't think we're going to have time to get to all of them, so just know that if we don't answer your question right now, we're only going to take one more question now. We'll reach out to you and contact you directly and make sure that you get answers to all the rest of the questions. The final one, I think, is going to be this one. It says, does your MDM system address transmission security as well as endpoint security, and do you include a VPN client?
Oh, absolutely, Nick. So our MDM client is actually including not just the MDM client in its basic sales, like managing the device itself, but it's also integrated with our SSL VPN client. So it actually addresses both the endpoint security from a terminal point of view, as well as encrypting the data using the SSL VPN tunnel to your corporate data servers, actually. So it does take care of both from a security point of view.
No, absolutely, AJ. And to anyone considering an MDM system from any vendor, please do make sure that that functionality is included. It's an absolute requirement, a checkbox. If there is an MDM system that doesn't have it, to me, that's huge warning bells going off.
Okay, guys, well, that takes us just about to the top of the hour here, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Again, if your question didn't get answered, just be on the lookout for somebody from Huawei reaching out to you. I want to thank everyone for their time. We will have many more webinars over the coming weeks and months, so be on the lookout for the latest invite, and we will see you all in the very near future on another Huawei webinar. So thanks again for your time, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thank you.